Hey everyone, I'm Tarek Morshed with the Morshed Group at Sothebys, where we specialize in representing entrepreneurs and founders in their residential real estate needs. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Home Podcast, where we interview Austin's most successful men and women and discuss their business journeys as well as the entrepreneurial home that really empowers them to thrive, both in business and in life. During COVID, we are changing our video podcast format to deliver everything to you via Zoom with the intention of still delivering on amazing values, idea shares, as well as supporting our fellow business owners and entrepreneurs in a very challenging time.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Entrepreneurial Home Podcast. Great to have Bonnie Kuhl here with us today, and I'm just really glad to have everyone join, especially in times of COVID, where we can't do this in person, but we're doing it through Zoom and still bringing hopefully amazing value to all our listeners around entrepreneurism and the journey that entails and such. So real quick, guys, Bonnie and I, we've known each other, Bonnie, for what, about almost a year and a half now, right?
Yeah, it's about a year and a half.
About a year and a half. And Bonnie and I are in EOA. You guys have heard me mention that organization in the past, Entrepreneurs Organization, and we're in the Accelerator Program. It's just been an amazing program. I really recommend it to any and all entrepreneurs that are really looking to scale. If you're at 250,000 plus in revenues, you know, it's a place to really grow your fundamentals in business. So we met because we ended up in a breakout group for the year and had the privilege of getting to know Bonnie personally, but also from a business perspective. And I'm not going to steal her thunder on her bio, but I'll just say a few things about Bonnie real quick. So, you know, on a personal level, really an amazing human being who's willing to be vulnerable and really share what's going on and where she struggles, as well as where her wins and successes are. And just a real honest and transparent soul. And so, just, you know, I don't know if I've even told you that before, Bonnie, but that's just how I experience you.
Thank you.
And yeah, you're welcome. And then, you know, we call her our unicorn in, EOA. You know, she's just got an amazing story of following passion and purpose and creativity, which I think is so much at the heart of the entrepreneurial journey. Where she, you know, has left kind of the world that she was in, which was already a creative world and a marketing company around websites, and she was doing great there, but really decided to follow her passion and purpose and ended up starting her company, and in year one was able to scale it at $1 million plus, and in year two at 4 million or so in revenues is what the run rate is. And so that's why we call her the unicorn. And even the way she's done it has been such a really unique voice within social media and how she's scaled it. So I think we're excited to have you here to share your journey and such. So before we get into questions, like, hey, tell us a little bit about Archer and Olive and who you are in that regard, and a little bit about the company and who you guys are in the world.
Yeah, totally. And also, thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
So kind of I was telling you earlier, but I feel like ever since I was young, I have had like an entrepreneurial soul. And I came from a family, and both my parents, they were real hardworking, but they kind of never knew or encouraged or hung out with any business owners. So I kind of thought that was like a 1 in a million kind of thing that you can do. Not something that, you know, someone like me would ever get to own their own business. And, you know, even when I was like young in like the 3rd grade, I was trying to make stuff and sell it to like my classmates. And we used to, like at Christmas time, we would pick mistletoe and sell it like on the street corner for
Awesome.
people to kind of like hang it in your house. So like I was always trying to do something. And then
where was this at? Because mistletoe is obviously not in Austin, Texas.
It is. Yes. It's in Kyle, Texas. So it grows. You probably see it everywhere and just don't think about it.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, it's you have to climb like tall trees and kind of get to the top, but it is everywhere. So we would do that. My brothers and I, or sometimes my neighbors would like come along. And then getting out of high school and stuff and going into college, I thought, okay, well now it's time to, try to focus on my career. And I've always loved art and really had an interest in web design, graphic design in general. And web design was kind of at this time like in its prime. And so I thought that's going to be a really great industry to get into. I taught myself a little bit about HTML, CSS, kind of like front end development, so I could have like a unique set of skills versus like a lot of designers would just be strictly design.
Makes sense. And about what year was this? Like, where are we at in the timeline?
Ooh, I think I graduated in 2010. Oh, so yeah, that was 10 years ago.
Okay.
And,
I know, right? Time, yeah, I know.
it feels like it was yesterday sometimes. Yeah, it took me a good 6 years to get through college for just a variety of reasons, but finally graduated in 2010 instantly. In my last semester, I had found a job, and so I was still finishing off my last semester and trying to work, full-time for this company. I just wanted something to go into when I graduated. A lot of people in design were thinking, oh, what a useless like skill, we're not going to get jobs, but I wanted to get myself set up. So once I graduated, I worked with them, and that went pretty good and I loved it, but I learned a lot about running a business because the manager there was really like interested in getting all the employees like involved in the vision. And he had us read a lot of business books, and he really like bought into all of that and like got the team to be like really close and become a team. And in a way, it kind of helped me see like how realistic it could be to kind of start your own thing.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah. So for a long time, I was just doing, I started doing wedding invitations on the side and realized very quickly that it's very hard to work for a client and scale. So if I couldn't find, other artists to work with me, or project managers to handle the project, that was never going to go anywhere. And on the side, kind of like at the same time I was graduating college, I realized that, well, I had been diagnosed with some mental illness. And one of the things that was recommended to me was journaling. And so I always kind of use my journaling as like an art tool. And so so fast forward a little bit, and the next step I wanted to do was create journals that you could, put art in as well. And it wasn't just for writing, and it was for getting a little bit creative too. And there was, at the time, bullet journaling became like a really popular thing. And so it's something that I got into, but I realized that it was very hard to put art in these books because the pages were really thin. And so I just, mostly for myself, created a book with really thick pages. And it was something that you could get real creative with. You could paint in, you could write in, you could plan out your day in, yeah. And it took off really quick. The community really responded to that. And so I realized pretty quickly, this is going to be a thing. And that's kind of when I was able to make that transition into making Archer and Olive what it is today.
Nice. And I'm sorry for everybody that's listening. I didn't mention, I said Bonnie Kuhl, and I should have said of Archer and Olive and founder.
Oh, yeah.
Company name.
Yes.
We'll make sure that it's titled everywhere.
That sounds good.
But so Archer and Olive, in essence, was birthed, it sounds like about 2016 or so, right? Ish.
Well, yeah. So 2016, I was doing like wedding invitations under the name Archer and Olive, but it wasn't until 2018 that I was like, oh, journals is what we're doing. And it was Q4. And I remember what I wanted to do was be like, hey, I want to do this full time, and I just want to be able to quit my full-time job. And so I just need to make X amount, I just need to make like $6,000 a month, and that'll, with cost of goods and everything, that'll pay my salary, and I can just leave my job. And we ended up like hitting, just in those 3 months, $330,000. So I was like, oh,
I've got something
this has
here.
potential. And then in 2019 was really that first year, and we ended up hitting 1.8 million. So that's over the course of 2019. I think just joining EO was a huge, it gave me a lot of confidence in business, and it made me feel like a legit business owner. helped me with some of the scary stuff, like hiring people. I had to work through all of that so fast. Inventory management, like supply chain. These are all things I, never had to consider before, and had to quickly learn. And so 2019 was just growing, and then now into 2020, I can, I'm finally able to take steps to grow that even further.
Right. That makes sense. So a couple of quick questions. So it sounds as though kind of the creative birthing of Archer and Olive happened actually, many years ago at some level.
Yeah.
Then you kind of decided, hey, I want to actually create a model of it, right? Or a working version, right?
Right.
And so that sounds like it happened around 2018 while you were still working, right?
Correct.
And then you kind of said, hey, let's put it out there in 2019, and you were still working. And then like that's then transitioned into like really the business launch in 2019 or so.
Yeah. Or I would say Q4 is of 2018 is when it really did take off. But yeah, so there was like a month or two when I was kind of testing the market and getting a different thing, getting like a feel for kind of the market's reaction in 2018 still. But yeah, 2019, I mostly just consider that like my first year in business. If you count like Q4 to Q4, like the beginning of Q4 to the beginning of Q4, like we had already hit 1 million at that point. So
it's amazing. And we'll get into this a little bit more as we talk through this conversation in terms of marketing strategies, etc. But just for our listeners, most of that for you has come through social media and online, whether it's inbound or outbound marketing, correct? Or has it been primarily all social media?
I would say it's certainly been up until a month or so ago. It's been social media.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. And then the bullet journals are kind of your core product, and just again to encapsulate for our listeners, it's the journal that creatives should be using. If I were to kind of like really high level it, right? And then that's the market you've kind of, or the corner of the market you've really niched. And which, by the way, for our listeners, my daughter is a massive fan of Archer and Olive, and she, no coincidence, she's a creative at heart. So obviously you know your target market extremely well, and you deliver to your target market extremely well because she's a rabid fan. So anyway, and you guys are at this stage, you've got your journal as your core product, but you've also started mapping on other products on top of that. Maybe just say a little bit about that for our listeners.
Yeah, one of the things I realized, and I had to realize pretty quickly, is when you create a product that has such like wild fan base, like such a dedicated fan base, it's not too long after that you're going to start seeing competitors and copycats like start copying your product. And so pretty quickly I learned, like, if I am a creative company and creativity is one of our core values, I'm always going to need to be the trendsetter instead of the trend follower. So there's always got to be, new products coming out. And our journal has been known, for quality. Like, we create a journal that's going to last a long time because this is your artwork. You want to hang on to this. And so everything I put out has got to be like top of the line quality as well. And it also has to be incredibly innovative. So every year we're trying to launch new products that can help people, get a little bit more creative, and it's something new, maybe that nobody's tried before.
Nice. So, and what are some of those products would you,
Yeah. So the first one I'd say that we came out with was, and a journal with black pages is not necessarily anything new. It was something I used in 8th grade when gel pens were like a huge thing.
Sure.
But we did it with a bullet journaling, or what I would say is it's the dotted page. And that was something that hadn't been done before. And people loved it because they were able to, it was kind of a revival of gel pens, which was so fun for my, preteen heart. And then recently we launched our own line of pens, and these are really cool because it is unlike anything that's ever been on the market before. It's similar to a paint pen, but it's got ink that's specifically made to use in your journal. So it's really smooth. It's going to go on the paper really smooth, and it's opaque. I haven't seen anything like that before in the journaling world. So you can layer it. You can use it on the black paper. You can use it on the white paper. We also have like a craft notebook that we came out with. You can use it on that as well. And so the journals go hand in hand with these new pens, and people have been loving them, myself included.
Yes, my daughter included. Yes, no,
Good.
indeed. And I think this, while we're talking about who Archer and Olive is, there's a great message here for, I think, our listeners or entrepreneurs at large, right? And it's something I think you've heard too maybe in our breakout groups.
Yeah.
That's, if you can go dominate 70% of the 7% of the market.
Yeah.
Right. So in the world of journals, right, that's a massive market. Right. And you've gone and captured, call it 70% of the 7%, the 7% meaning in this case, the artists and creatives and journal.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And then you've captured 70% of that market, or that's my take at least.
For sure.
Which is why you just literally zoomed in terms of your scaling. And then now you're actually taking that further and niching it even further. Right.
Exactly.
Where, hey, we've got the base product plus the marker that goes with that base product. And again, no one else is providing that, and it's specifically to this. And not that it can't help everybody, but especially the artists and creative, it's and I think it's also maybe indicative of not just the way you've scaled, but like on your social media, right? If most of the growth has come through social media, right? You've even, it sounds like, targeted from that perspective. Oh, did we have a gap there?
Yeah, you froze.
Okay.
Sorry.
I think I was saying that from a social media perspective, given most of the scale has come through social media, you've even focused on your target niche within social media in many ways, right? Mm-hmm. And real quick, like what do your followers look like, right? And I'm only asking because I think, again, the way you've scaled has been so interesting and intriguing, right?
Cool. Yeah, thank you. So Instagram's been our main platform from the beginning because we have such a visual product. Showing off art is something you want to look at the pictures. So right now we are at like 210 plus thousand followers, and growing. We grow steadily. We gain about 1,000 a week.
That's amazing. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so anything else you want to say about Archer and Olive in terms of a global view and who you guys are?
I would say like some of the things that I always said from the beginning is like we really wanted to put like a positive message out there, and I really wanted to like make the community a part of the company. And I think that's why they responded so well. So we've spent like very little budget on marketing, but just making like genuine friends in the community and genuine like fans in the community. And these people kind of, spread the word without us having to really do too much.
That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. So it's really not just a niche product you guys have created. You guys have also truly engaged community.
Yeah.
Right. In a way that is your core client, if you will, but it sounds like you've really engaged and connected with them in a way that really resonates on a heartfelt and personal level.
Yeah, and it's always really important for me to listen to what they're saying. We even keep a spreadsheet of like suggestions customers have made, and you start to notice the same suggestion like pop up over and over, and there's got to be hundreds more thinking the same thing. So we're able to, I don't have a fear of like creating something quick, testing it out. Maybe it's a huge hit. Maybe it, hits a few hundred people, but I'm happy to always like test out new products too, because innovation, creativity is such a huge part.
That makes sense. That's really cool. I wrote this down, suggestions from customers. So
yeah,
what a brilliant little nugget, where it sounds as though you've kind of created the opportunity for your clients and your community to really engage and oops, I think we had another
Yeah, you froze again.
uh, listeners, I apologize. This is kind of what I guess we deal with on the Zoom versions every
Yeah.
once in a while. But what I was saying is that it sounds as though, you really listen to your customers by actually allowing them to give suggestions, which then is maybe perpetuated, whether it's an idea or such, based on kind of the consistent suggestions or feedback. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. I just wrote that down like, oh, we need to do a better job of that.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's hard because I used to like do like focus groups, I guess you could say, with my customers and ask them, how do you feel about this product? And so a lot of times it's just like, I know this sounds silly, but it's my intuition of what's going to work. So maybe in the focus group, it performed really poorly, but I'm like, no, I just feel like this is going to be a thing. And it has always been a huge hit when you just get that gut feeling, and it's been right so far.
That, which is also huge. And I remember you sharing this before with, one of our groups. And, I think in entrepreneurism, that's one of the biggest things is sometimes you have a gut and an instinct, and sometimes the market doesn't necessarily align with that.
Yeah.
But that if it's truly there for you as a gut and instinct, and it just really resonates, and you still just got to go for it because you know your product better than anybody. And or the understanding of what customers truly need.
Yeah.
And so focus groups, to your point, I think are awesome, but they're a benchmark, not necessarily the absolute rule.
Exactly.
Right? And that we as entrepreneurs have to go for it still sometimes.
Yeah.
And which is what you've done. And obviously it's worked out really well. And I think operating from gut and instinct is such a key and valuable part of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Right? So I appreciate you sharing that.
Of course.
So tell us about, Archer and Olive's three uniques. And I think you've kind of touched on some of it, or I've even pointed it out, but if you were to encapsulate it, right?
Yes, that's right. Okay, so I would
It
say
doesn't have to be three, it could be 5 or 2, whatever.
I have 3, so it will be 3.
Awesome.
So I was just mentioning, like, being a friend to the community, being an ally to the community. As I mentioned before, like, mental health is huge for me, and journaling is such an important part of mental health, along with so many other things. But journaling is a piece of that, and so is art, and so is creativity, and it's just a good way to express yourself, whether it looks beautiful or it's terrible. But humans kind of have this need to create something within them, I feel like. And for people, especially suffering with mental illness, being able to be open about my struggles with them is really important to me as a business owner, and making friends and connections of others that are going through the same thing. And just, I do have like a ton of followers on social media, but I will answer every single message I get, and it is overwhelming sometimes, but I think it's just really important to connect with your community.
Wow. Nice. Yeah, so connecting with your community, that's pretty powerful.
Yeah. And a lot of companies might say that, or we're connected, but I've made like genuine friends where I have friends that I've we send stuff to each other, or we'll start sending care packages to each other now. So I think that's been really great. And then because beautiful. I started off with it. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was saying that's beautiful.
Yeah. And I was going to say, because we started off in such like a niche market, I think that was also really, really key. It filled, bullet journaling was always a thing. And people being creative in their bullet journals was always a thing. But we created a product that filled a need that was in there. There was nothing out there for people to be able to paint in their notebook, or have the smooth paper, that they were looking for, to be able to use like their paints or their markers, and then without it like showing through to the other side. And it sounds like such a small, like, how is that so special? But it was huge, and the market really needed that. So I think honing in on just a really small market at first is what really helped us. And then the final thing I would say is what I touched on before also, and that's innovation. I took a good hard look and had like a freak out when suddenly all these other companies were like, well, we're going to make journals just like yours. And you were there. And I was like, I think that was like our second presentation. And I was like, guys, what do I do? And and Forrest helped me with this one, when you stick to your core values and like, and one of the core values was creativity, you won't go wrong. And so I thought, you're right, like I'm going to get creative and I'm going to start coming up with new things, and they can copy me all day long, but they're, they don't have me, and they're never going to they're not thinking ahead. They're just following in my tail.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And do you mind me asking, if you're willing to share?
Sure.
You don't have to. What are the company's core values?
Yes. Let me.
You don't have to remember.
Give me a pause, so I got to pull this up right now because I have like a thing. You might want to.
Nice.
Start out, but hold on.
I still don't have ours memorized, but when I see them on paper, I know them really well.
Yeah, because the way they're worded is kind of important to me, so I have to see when they're written out.
So while you're doing that, it's, creativity. I'm sorry, in terms of your three uniques, right? Community, right?
Yeah.
Community, and then if you have to encapsulate the other two.
Community, like start with a niche. So for me, it was geared towards artists who were also journalers.
Yep.
And innovation, or really creativity.
Yeah, awesome.
So, okay, so our core values are one, and kind of the real reason I started was mental wellness. And this applies, and I tried to make this apply to my employees and to the community. So that was, to the customers, for me, that means like using my social media as a platform to talk about mental illness struggles, and hopefully it helps others get through theirs. Nice. And for my employees, we offer to any full-time or part-time employee 100% paid healthcare. We offer flexible schedules, of course, providing a safe space for them, and importantly, unlimited vacation time. Because I get it, like you have days you wake up and you're like, I hate today and I just don't want to work. So like, I'm pretty open to stuff like that. You're not going to do your best work when you're having one of those days anyway. So
right.
The next one's going to be creativity every day, which is kind of what I was talking about. So for the customers, I have a blog, and we're putting out at least 3 posts every week. And that's like instructional stuff, how to create these layouts. Like it's really, a lot of people are like, that looks beautiful, but I can never do this. And so these blogs are for people of all different skill levels. Like literally anybody can bullet journal, and it doesn't have to be beautiful. And we write blogs for all different skill levels, including like how to begin. And for the company, it means, of course, designing those unique products and making sure that we're ahead of the trends and setting the trends instead of just following the trends.
Yeah.
And then be kind to yourself, to others, and to the environment. Nice. So all of our products are totally vegan. I steer clear.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's
yeah. I steer totally clear of plastic packaging. So they ship in these boxes, and when we were developing the line of pins, a lot of people just put their pins in like a plastic container, but we've got these really nice boxes that they're either biodegradable or preferably recyclable. And be kind for us also means, or for the customer, it means they're going to get stellar customer service. Like we will try to understand from like their point of view,
Yeah.
The mail has been like a nightmare, and can't control it, but like I so get it. So we always try to, like, if something doesn't arrive in time because of mail delays, like we are always going to try our best to make that right.
Yeah. Nice.
And I think we have like a 97% customer service satisfaction. So I'm like, wow, I'm so excited about that one. That's awesome. I've got a great customer service team. And then the final one is happy birthday to you, because I really, really want it to feel like a present when you're opening your journal or your pins or whatever, product you
purchase. That's super cool. I love your core values, and I can see how they're like really resonating and alive throughout your company. That you really make it about both the client and the team.
Yeah. having a healthy workspace is so important for me. You know, like I more than anybody get that burnout, and I never want my employees to feel that. So I'm probably annoying them, but I'm always asking, "Are you okay? Do you need to take some time off?" Because you know they go above and beyond for us, and I am really lucky to have such a great team.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. Super cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
Thank you
yeah.
for sharing that.
I
So,
never get to, so it's fun to like. It's fun
yeah,
to go over
yeah.
that.
No, that's great. The question really came from a place of, again, um, I think we've both learned in EO how important core values are and how they're really the guiding ship and the guiding compass internally, externally, in every place, and at how often they start with what's most important to you as the entrepreneur and the CEO, and that that those now you've got the roadmap of what's most important to you, but and your team, but also how you hire, how you treat customers. I mean, it shows up everywhere.
Yeah, and what's funny is I didn't like I had core values, but I didn't really look at them or look to them, and I actually had a conversation with you where I felt like I don't personally live these every day, and it was just a really struggle for me because I felt like it was like I was like living a lie in a sense. But you made a really great point, and that was it's not like you can't be perfect every day. You're not always going to, hit everything 100%. But if it's something that you can just aim for and where the bar is set,
Yeah.
like that's the purpose of them. And so that I was like, you're so right. And
Yeah.
so
Have grace, right? It's an anchor, but have grace.
yeah, that was right. Yeah, that was right. And so it did make me feel a lot more inspired by them, and in fact enough to go kind of rework them.
Yeah.
And now now my team knows them. We have that we're all remote workers, but like we've got this big Google Doc, and anytime they ask me a question that I don't want to answer or perhaps don't know the answer to, I say like, make your decision, but like check it through our core values. And as long as it's in line with all of those, yeah, like you're going to make the right decision.
That's awesome. What a great way of empowering them too.
Yeah.
That's super cool. I'm going to remember that one too.
Yeah. Forrest actually said that. So.
That's right. Shout out to Forrest Higdon.
Yeah.
So cool. So let's talk a little bit about COVID, and has your company and has Archer and Olive been affected by COVID or not? Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So you hate to say, but we're an e-commerce business. So obviously like e-commerce has had like Q4 level booms this year. Yeah. So, revenue wise, that's been good, but supply chain has been like a nightmare. One, because we predicted inventory based on, Q1, 2, 3 last year. Right. And with this like massive influx of online orders, inventory was a bit of a hassle. And then, so China, well, I get a lot of stuff from a lot of different places, but one of my manufacturers is in China, and they had shut down their factory for a long time. And actually, I really trust and love working with this manufacturer. They also treat their employees very, very well, which is very important to me. And they got to shut down for a long time, because they wanted their employees to be safe and be at home. So it delayed us quite a bit on getting some of that new inventory, and obviously shipping. You want everybody to follow guidelines when working, and you want them to have less employees there, and you want them to be safe and stay distant. And if you're feeling any kind of sick, you want them to stay home. And so understandably, the mail has been running like significantly slower because of that.
Right.
And so in that way, the shipping, the supply chain on both sides has been kind of difficult for us to navigate.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like as though from the demand side, while that hasn't been hurt, and matter of fact, in many ways, it's actually boosted because of, hey, everyone's at home and ordering online.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
On the other side, it's been a real challenge on the supply chain side to meet the demand.
Totally.
I'm sure, is not been easy. And I've even heard you share some of that, but just when your suppliers are not in your, just right here in Austin, or even in,
Right.
that's massively challenging.
Yeah.
So, and I guess maybe kind of speaking into a little bit of this next question is like, what resources are you using and how are you pivoting around any challenges, right? So like, what's working for you in COVID, in terms of how you guys are operating?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things, and just what people want, and I get this just from how I am. If something is delayed, I can handle it, but just be proactive about letting me know. Don't wait until I write in and say, hey, where's this? So if anything gets delayed, we're always trying to be very open on social media and say, look, this is what's happening, and this is when we expect, this to ship or whatever. And being super honest, like if if a customer is upset that their package has taken so long, try to send them something else, to make them happy. I've also been trying to offer a lot of like free online courses because people are at home, and it's like, it is, if they have the time, it's a good time to try to pick up or learn a new skill. So I wanted to be able to like help people get a little bit of creativity, and so I've been doing like a lot of demos and stuff.
Oh, wow, that's so awesome. So
Yeah.
it's almost like, I guess what I'm hearing in it is you're actually finding ways to give back,
Yeah.
educate, and actually even engage even more, because it's a time where people really need those things, with everything that's going on. And so
Yeah.
that's pretty powerful. Instead, what I guess, if I chunk that up one more level, I hear that as being super proactive versus reactive in a
Yes.
business environment that's all of a sudden become pretty unpredictable, whether it's
Every day.
whether it's on the supply side or even the front line side with clients, depending on what
Yeah.
business you're in. It's really a time where you have to be proactive and think ahead if you're going to survive and thrive.
Yeah, totally.
Very cool. Very cool. I like that. I appreciate you sharing that. Okay. Anything else you want to add on either of those in terms of COVID's impact, or what you're doing to pivot or survive? I was going to ask you one last question.
No, I think that covered it.
Cool. Yeah, I wanted to make sure I didn't cut you off there, because everything you're sharing has been just really bountiful and very insightful here today. Uh, so hacks or tips for getting into flow, and usually this question pre-COVID would be, from a place of just whether it's at work or at home as an entrepreneur, what really works for you to get into flow, and maybe
Mhm.
even have a bent around your space, whether it is at home and so on. But the COVID version is, now that we're all working from home, how are you making that effective for you, right? And so for our listeners, any tips around that to get into flow or be able to work effectively from home?
Yeah, I feel like I have like an edge up on this because I'm such an introvert, and even when I was doing my full-time job, it was remote, and
Uh,
I sought out a remote job as fast as I could because I love being at my house.
no,
Um,
right.
and yeah, being in an office all day can get really draining for me. But I do have very, very, very like strict regimen of what I do every morning, and it has changed quite a bit because of COVID, my husband's home with me, so I don't get like that peaceful Zen time every morning.
Right.
But what I do, like one thing that's really worked for me is noise canceling headphones, which
Ah,
I didn't have to use before because it was totally silent here. But he is loud. He's a loud guy, and so I had to like, I love having him home, but oh my goodness, so I had to get noise canceling headphones so I don't hear him and his fan.
that's hilarious. Got
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And then I have a 2-year-old, which and he is like a handful, and so it's important to me in the morning to have like peaceful time, like when I can. Sometimes he's up at just ungodly early hours, and and you just can't. But when I can, I will wake up before everybody else, and that's the time I like to usually have my first pot of tea and sit and kind of like think about what the day is going to go. It's very another thing about me is like, I like a very clean, organized environment.
Mm.
And I like, my office is in my office. We don't do work in other rooms of the house. Like I am working in my office. I'm not going to work in my bed or the couch. Sometimes I'll go outside, but it's in my office. So I need to make sure everything's like in its place. I need to make sure the house is just very clean, very perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, in order, and it makes it feel. It just gives me like a kind of peace, and it helps like this is right. This is good. I can get started now.
Well, it's
And
so interesting you say this and share this because, in the entrepreneur's world, it is, sometimes we're wearing 10 hats,
oh
5
yeah,
hats, whatever it may be. You're, you're diving into marketing, you're diving into operations, you're diving into social media, you're diving into meetings, you're diving,
yeah,
you're wearing so many hats and there's so many things going on that your environment has such an impact where if the environment, I think, and from what I've heard several other entrepreneurs on this podcast share, when their environment and their office space is cluttered or it's always
yeah.
messy, that it actually really stunts their ability to think clearly and make great decisions and move quickly and work effectively and so on. So I think you're kind of speaking into a lot of that where if our surrounding isn't peaceful,
Yeah,
right, and the office space and et cetera, then it's so impactful in how we perform.
it's true. It like affects my whole life. It's been this way. Not even just in business, but it affects my mood. If I wake up and dishes haven't been done, you just don't start off on the right foot. And so that's why I like to try to take that time for myself in the morning, get everything in order, make sure there's no clutter on my desk. I always close out of all my tabs when I leave for the day, so I'm not opening up my computer to just like a bunch of chaos on my screen.
Right.
Um, yeah, the order and the
Ooh, I
peaceful.
like that one. You know what? I need to do that on my
Oh
screen.
man.
I tend to have a lot of different things because I'm thinking, hey, I don't want to forget that, and I don't want to necessarily write it
Right,
so I leave it
right.
open. But then I get into this trap of having a lot open. But you're right. Then when I go to it, it feels like, oh my God, there's so much going on, and
Yeah, yeah, like, oh, I forgot to do that. Did you get started listening or reading the book that was recommended or that we were supposed to read
oh,
for?
got it. No, I was actually going to get that going here like this weekend because I think our
Yeah,
meeting's this week, right?
yeah, it is next week. It's short books, so you won't have any trouble reading it. And it's on Audible too if you prefer to listen.
Yep.
But one of the things he talked
And what was
about,
the book title? Mhm.
stillness is the key, and I think his name is Ryan Holiday, and he's an EO member here in Austin too, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. And kind of speaks to just everything I believe. Like it's a philosophy I definitely agree with. But he mentioned some famous entrepreneur or he gives a lot of examples. I don't remember who it was, but they said the important information will like find a way to you. Like you will get that important information, and the things that seem important and like will resolve themselves. So if you close it out and it's like you go open your inbox the next day and there's 20 emails, it's like, oh, suddenly that's not important, that's not important, that's not important. But like the truly important stuff can wait, and it can usually, it can it's usually stuff that requires a lot of time and thought anyway, and the unimportant stuff, it will resolve itself. So it's okay to like,
Brilliant.
yeah, that I really liked that part.
Yeah, I like that too, because email clutter on the eyes and screen clutter
Oh yes, it does.
really impacts our mental space, which then impacts everything, right? So I really, really like that. Very cool. Very cool. Well, thanks for sharing those. Those are actually some really powerful tips.
Yeah,
Because again, we're at a time where we are having to work from home, all of us,
yeah.
whether you're an entrepreneur or not, right? And having that workspace really work has become imperative. And I do think that moving forward, that's going to be a thing no matter what, right?
I know. Yeah,
Past
yeah.
COVID. So okay, so closing statements. What else would you like to share about Arthur and Olive or anything else you'd like to say?
So we're really trying to gain like new audiences
Mhm.
in 2021,
Okay.
And so what I'm really trying to do is open it up a little bit. A lot of people will be like, man, they'll see art and they think, I would love to be creative, but I'm just not creative at all. And that is such a lie you're telling yourselves, because if you have that desire, like, you are creative. So we're launching a bunch of products to help beginners get into it too, or people who see it and think that looks interesting, but they could never do it. We're launching a lot of stuff to help those people, and that's coming in Q4, and I'm just really, really excited.
Very nice. And so would that be specifically, make sure I understand it right, is that specifically to someone who wants to get into the entrepreneurial space, or are you talking about within creativity and I think, which is, I'm saying the same thing.
Yeah, more into the creativity space. So somebody who is so we do a lot with planning, we do a lot with creativity, and we do a lot with journaling. And so many people will tell themselves, like, I don't have the time, I don't have the skill, I'm not as organized. And so it's just a lot of stuff we're throwing together to really help people realize, like, their potential. Like, yes, you do, and yes, it can help, and it feels so awesome. Like, you will amaze yourself. And so I really want to try to get those people involved, because nobody should say I'm not creative, but I want to be. You are creative.
And that again, that speaks back into your core values, but like a different around creativity and community innovation. That's very, very cool. I love it. Thank you for sharing that.
I'm so excited.
Well, it's been awesome. This has felt like a fireside chat, which is what I always strive for. We're just having a conversation, an honest conversation about what's working and what's not, between us as well as for our listeners. So it's been so much fun to have you on. I'm going to see you next week anyway, but this has been a blast. It's been a blast. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, real quick, maybe share with our listeners website or any social media handles you want to share.
Totally. So it's just a company name across the board, Archer and Olive. Spell out A-N-D. And on Instagram, Archer and Olive, website, Archer and Olive. We do have a YouTube channel where I have a bunch of creatives, like, uploading tutorials if you're more of a visual person. And we do have a blog you'll also find on the website if you prefer to read.
Awesome. And to our listeners, thank you again for joining us, whether it's this podcast or past ones or future ones. You can find those at themorshedgroup.com as well as on our social media handles. Thanks for joining us, and we will talk to you next time.